Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Hannah Johns podcast, where we bring people closer to the sport that they love. I'm Hannah Johns, and today I have with me Samin Odhwani, the UPA's Chief Strategy Officer. Hi, Samin.
Hey Anna, I'm excited. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah, the big news of yesterday, our topic as well, is the MLP 2025 season, the format, the structure, the planning, the schedule, all the things. It all came out yesterday, which is why this interview is particularly timely for us, because we can chat with you about what it's all going to look like. And I'd love to start with obviously what people are most interested in talking about are the biggest changes to 2025 for MLP. If you could walk through some of those with us.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't say the fact that we are able to be here in January and have a really clear idea of what 2025 is going to look like is just incredible, right? I mean, you've been a part of the sport
Yeah.
for as long as it's existed, and every year it's gotten better without a doubt. But it's also had its challenges and sort of variations, and are we going to merge and all of that stuff. So really happy to just see the sport aligned in a way that gives us a chance to focus on the fan and the audience and making this exciting. And so that's a big part of why we wanted to get all of this out there so that people can start to digest it. Amazing people like yourselves can help explain it. But I would say there's really three big changes for 2025. The first is roster expansion. So we've got teams going on the premier side from rosters of four now to rosters of six, just introducing a totally different level of strategy and how to think about roster construction and team chemistry and energy. And for us, what's amazing is we have such an awesome pool of players that we've signed to our league, and it gives us a chance to just more effectively utilize that entire group. I think last year it was a mad rush to kind of get the season off the ground, and I think the league did a really, really good job. But once I had a chance to join about a month ago and take a step back and look at, okay, how do we want to do this going forward? It to me made a ton of sense to allow teams to expand and sort of introduce a level of strategy that we didn't have last year with rosters of six. So that's big change number one. I would say big change number two is for the first time in MLP's history, we're going to have player continuity. So it won't be, oh, I was a fan of the LA Mad Drops, but the entire roster changed from 2023 to 2024. This year, teams are able to keep up to three of their four original draft picks. So a team like the Mad Drops, for example, will have the chance to keep Catherine on their team for 2025, in addition to having her in 2024. And they've got Hunter Johnson and some interesting decisions to make with the rest of their roster. But I think that's going to be something that helps the fan kind of just continue to build familiarity with our Major League Pickleball teams. And then the last big change is our scoring format. So we're moving to side out scoring in 2025 on the doubles side. We're going to keep the DreamBreaker. I think we all know just how exciting that part of our game is. But on the doubles side, the reality of it is there's 40 million people playing pickleball, and for us, we want to make sure that that audience just continues to become a fan of both the PPA and the MLP. And I think as exciting as rally scoring was, there was a little bit of a barrier to entry for understanding the sport. And how I play at my local park was different than how MLP played. And I think for us, it's important to make that as easy as possible for the fan and have some consistency around what they see. And so we'll have side out scoring in the doubles for MLP in 2025, but we'll keep our DreamBreaker format just because I think that's an amazing structure that's really, really exciting.
Yeah, and just from my experience, I think those are all, I think, great improvements for the league. But when we talk to broadcast networks like Fox or ESPN or CBS, a lot of what they ask us about is one, are the players consistent? Are we going to see the same faces? Because that's something that the audience wants to grasp onto. And number two, is it a format that the audience can understand if they don't really know much about this new sport? So a lot of that is built on their wide experience of what they've seen work in the sporting world, which we want to lean on for obviously stand on the shoulders of giants in some respects. And I think as well, the three big changes that you brought up, they also, again, build on the history of other sports and what's worked in other sports. So when you look at, 6 players to a team instead of 4 for injuries, for subs, for just making use of other options throughout the year, just creates a more seamless experience, I think. And you see that in football and in basketball. You've got your second string, your third string, and so on. And same thing with the team continuity. You want to see the same faces. You root for, whoever you're behind in football or basketball. Those are not my specialties. They're more yours. But whoever the stars are, the people follow. So that, and as well, the understanding of the scoring is really important. So I think these are all great improvements.
No, for sure. And I mean, you nailed it. Like, look, we're still early, right? We talk about this internally on our leadership team. Like, we're in the first inning of professional pickleball, or the first quarter of, the game. And so, no, we're going to continue to make improvements. Like, we're not, I'll be the first to say it's not perfect yet, but we're doing the best we can to kind of get there. And as, we kind of bring MLP to the masses in 2025, even on the amateur side, you'll start to see a ton of our events are going to have the amateur tournaments running alongside of them. And
yes,
that's a great learning for us on the PPA, front, that we saw just bring energy and fans and people the opportunity to experience the game. And like, we want to have that across, both of the brands that we operate. And all of those players are playing side out scoring. So I think it just continues to create that alignment of, I was, playing my amateur, match on court 25. And then I came to watch the grandstand, and I'm seeing the same thing. There's this level of familiarity there.
Yeah, you gotta also preserve what makes pickleball so special. And part of that is our side out scoring. And part of that is that the majority, pretty much exclusively, if you watch pickleball, you play pickleball, which is not the case with other massive sports. And so being aware of that difference and being respectful of it, I think is an awesome thing to point out. And I also liked, we talked about this earlier, that you compared using the side out scoring, but then having the special point by point rally scoring DreamBreaker and preserving that, and how we're following the footsteps of other sports was a really important point as well.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, right, tennis, like, they have a scoring format that they use for the majority of their match, but if it goes into a tiebreaker, they also go to rally scoring. College football, they have a format that they use for 4 quarters. If you go into overtime, it looks a little bit different. It's a bit more exciting, right? And so us and what we have seen in terms of fan engagement and just the level of energy that comes with the DreamBreaker, I think we would have been naive to think that that was also something that needed to be changed. So I'm excited that we're able to keep that in place.
And then one thing that I want to touch on is we're now going to a full contracted roster across the league. So you have to have a UPA contract in order to play. Walk me through some of that.
Yeah, totally. So look, we're building what we feel strongly is the best entity in pro pickleball. And if we, want to achieve that objective and achieve that goal and achieve that vision, we want players that are all the way in. And I think, in years past, it was, we allowed some to dabble on the PPA side, dabble on the MLP side, and sort of, ebb and flow with what they were most interested in. But at this point, we're one, unified business. And so, we want to represent that throughout everything that we do. And that goes down to the players as well. And so we have an amazing roster of signed players. And I think for us, it's about utilizing them in the most effective way, because it's not even close. Like, we have the top 150 players, basically. And so if you're in, we want you to be all the way in. We want you to compete at slams and cups on the PPA Tour side. We want you to compete for Major League Pickleball and play in the midseason tournament. And so I think it'll help, to what you were saying earlier as well, for the fan, continue to see, I saw, player A, bronze medal at the PPA Mesa tournament, and then they're also playing for an MLP team. And it's not sort of these unfamiliar faces that are maybe popping up in either side.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, if you're an Anna Bright fan, you follow Anna Bright's team. That's at least what
Yeah,
I've sort of grassroots heard in the amateur community. And I love that, that it's the players that have the personalities, and when you can bring that personality to every event and your fans can follow you from stop to stop, like that's where you create true fan and sport engagement. That's in a whole nother level.
totally. And what I'm most excited about, and I feel like you've got a fun task ahead on the media side with pickleball.com, is now speculating like, what are teams going to do? Who are they going to keep? Who are they going to drop? Who are they going to trade? Who are they going to pick up? And
Yeah.
for us to what you were saying, like it's super clear who they can do or who they can utilize to sort of speculate on those things, who the signed players are. And so there's no more, oh, well, what if they went and got so and so? And it just helps to continue that, level of understanding to where if media outlets want to talk about those things, which we want them to, because we think it's an exciting part of the game, it makes their lives easier as well to translate that for the fan.
Absolutely. So maybe walk us through the drop schedule, the pickup schedule, what that looks like. I know we have one waiver period this year instead of three, I believe. So a little bit on
Yep.
that, not too in depth, but just for the average fan out there that wants to know what the heck's going on.
Totally, totally. So the fun starts now. So teams are able to trade, starting yesterday, and
Woo.
that trade window exactly stays open until February 15th, at which point every team has to declare who they're dropping. So, we're given sort of some flexibility to teams to be able to make moves and, roster adjustments, and knowing that they have to continue to sort of pay to keep some of their players, they're able to take all that information and do what's best for their respective rosters. So I think you'll see I've already seen some trade murmurs sort of circle the internets or the WhatsApp groups or wherever it is that we, follow
The
the
Reddit
sport that we love.
forums.
The Reddit forums, the Discords, I mean, it's everywhere. And so between now and February 15th, teams are able to do that. And then they have to declare on the 16th which player or players that they're dropping. So, just to remind our fans and our audience, every team had a roster of 4. You have to drop at least one of those players. And some decisions have been made for teams. As an example, if you picked up a player on the waiver wire in 2024, you have to drop that player. So I'll use the Texas Rangers with Kwang Kwang, for example. They picked him up off the waiver wire. He would have to be dropped in 2025 and kind of enter into our free agency format. So once players are dropped and declared on the 16th, teams then start preparing for free agency, which is going to take place for Premier on Sunday, March 2nd, and for Challenger the following day on Monday, March 3rd. So teams have about a little more than 2 weeks to kind of prepare for that. And free agency is going to look like the Premier draft did last year, where we'll auction off free agency slots. So free agency slot 1 will go up for bid. Teams will bid. A winner will be awarded based on the highest bid amount. And then the team's able to make a selection from who they know are the available players to kind of fill out their roster. And we'll kind of use that format until all Premier teams are at rosters of 6. One thing we are going to do, and I know you were an amazing part of this last year, is sort of let fans in a bit more to how all of this works. And so we're hoping to really produce an amazing show that showcases kind of some of the exciting strategy that goes into formulating a team and a roster on the Major League Pickleball side. So once free agency is done, as mentioned for Premier on Sunday, March 2nd, and Challenger Monday, March 3rd, now teams prep for the beginning of the season, which starts for us in April 22nd in Orlando. It's going to be an amazing, amazing venue and host. Like the Squeeze are one of the best teams we have as it comes to, grassroots marketing and getting word out. And that's our opening weekend. All 16 Premier teams will be there. We're hoping to put together some really exciting fan engagement opportunities, and then the season's off and running.
Awesome. Yeah, I know we're really looking forward to, well, hopefully over the next month, we'll be able to sort of dial our audience into those drops and pickups and trades as they come out. You guys are going to announce them on MLP and all the media is going to follow it. And then, like you said, we're going to do a draft show to show people in real time what teams are picking or who they're picking. And it should all be really fun. I know my brothers are currently on the same team right now, so we'll see if that changes along with the partnership that changed this year for them on the PPA side. Is it gonna stay? They're gonna follow that same path with MLP and not play together on that side as well. It's all interesting. I no spoilers from me, but it's we're all very dialed in.
For sure. I mean, that's one of the most exciting, I would say, storylines for MLP this year is what is going to happen there. And then you could even extend that to, some of the other successful partnerships, both on the men and women's side that we saw, right? You had Hayden and Gabe just sort of emerge as incredible talents on the PGA Tour side and on the MLB side in 2024. Do they stay together with the St. Louis Shock? On the women's side, we thought on paper there were some teams that would have had a lot more success than maybe they actually did. Do they look to mix it up? And so we saw some of that with trades towards the end of the year. But I do think going into this season, there'll be even more room and thought and flexibility for teams to make some of those moves, and should be exciting.
Especially with the financial aspect. I mean, different budgets for different teams. That's just a fact of the world. And so if you have a really expensive player, a top player who you're like, they're probably my best player, but they're also the most expensive to keep. Maybe I drop them. Maybe I save the money and I try to pick up, two mid-level players. Who knows? We love all the guesswork and the predictions. And I know we're going to have our team working on some prediction stuff. So that'll be fun.
No, great. I love that.
One thing that I want to touch on, which I think is actually a really overlooked and exciting part of 2025, is that all MLP events are going to be hosted by the home team, home city, or sort of that was the thought process there. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So look, we had an amazing sort of insight from 2024, which was attendance at events that were in home team markets was 3x those that were not. So, Salt Lake City or Orlando or Miami, we saw sort of 3x the average attendance than Virginia Beach or some other markets that didn't, have home teams in them. And so for us, as we were building the structure for 2025, it was almost obvious in some respects that this was the route to go. And we had these amazing teams with, local roots and venues and fans, and it's like time to bring the sport to those people as much as we can. And so this year, all 10 of our regular season events are hosted by our MLP teams. And so they're invested in, bringing an amazing experience to everyone that follows the league, but also getting a chance to showcase their team, because all teams that are hosting events, their team will be represented there. So when we're in Austin, you'll see the Texas Ranchers at that venue and at that event, and they'll get to bring their team and their energy and their excitement and their opportunities to those fans locally. And by the way, like the cities that we're in for MLP teams are incredible. I mean, we're talking about going to Austin. We're going to be in Washington, D.C. We're going to be, at San Clemente with the sort of co-host unit of our amazing California teams and the Mad Drops and the Black Bears in SoCal and Bay Area. And so I think we'll be able to do a lot more with fans locally and also give our teams a chance to really showcase the work that they've been putting in for the last 2-3 years in sort of building those fan bases. And honestly, the best, in my opinion, part of the schedule, and I'm biased because I used to live in New York City, is we're going back to MLP NYC in August for our championship. I mean, come on, the pictures from Central Park were amazing. So for us, there's the regular season, which I think is going to be great. We'll have sort of high energy, but the championship being in New York, I think will also just serve as the perfect cherry on top to what should be a fun year. And I should add one more thing that we'll be adding. It wasn't in the details of the competition format, but we can break it here, to the extent we're breaking news on the Hannah Johns podcast. But MLP is going to introduce Saturday and Sunday night pickleball. Think festival atmosphere, different jersey colors, fan games during, in between doubles, and sort of marquee matchups on the last match of the day on championship court, both Saturday and Sunday. So Saturday, we'll have probably the home team kind of play their best match and really circle that event as a chance to engage with fans and kind of have an amazing time. And then Sunday will kind of be our marquee match of the weekend. And so for us, just like you said earlier, looking around the sports landscape and what amazing sports leagues do, like this is one aspect that I think you'll just see an elevated level of fun for our fans to be able to tune into that last match of the day on Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I love that we can start to focus on fan engagement even more so this year as we sort of have gotten through some of the growing pains, and we now have a product that we're really proud of and continuing to work on, which is awesome. And talking about some of the lessons we learned, one of the other changes is we shortened that calendar to create more of a typical sports season. Talk about the intent there.
Yeah. So look, I think last year another insight we had was the ebb and flow that existed with Major League Pickleball kind of made it challenging to follow, right? Oh, my team did really well, in DC, but then they kind of went away for a month or 2 months, and then they popped back up for the next event, which might have been New York City. And so it kind of became hard to follow. Oh, we were sixth in the standings, and then we climbed up to third, and then we kind of went away for a bit, and oh yeah, by the way, we're still in third, and now we're kind of competing for the top spot. So this year we really condensed it down. I mean, we're talking April to August, 4 months of just boom, 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 MLP after MLP, really exciting week to week events. And so I think it'll make it a lot easier for fans to just stay tuned in, stay plugged in, follow what's going on. But B, I also feel like you'll be able to see some of the tension that comes, with sports and the calendars, and oh, like we just lost to the Shock a week ago and we're playing them again in a week. Like we got to get them back. And I think that will be fun and exciting for us to be able to follow along, because the team format, as you know, like it's got this level of dynamic that relies on not just your on-court playing, but your personalities and your chemistry and your energy, and really just bottling all of that up into kind of a 4-month window, I think will just raise the ceiling of what we're able to accomplish this year.
Oh yeah, and it's kind of funny. We would follow. Last year was MLP PPA, MLP PPA, and it was so interwoven that you would see sort of tensions or dramas on the MLP side. They would have sequels, but they would be on the PPA events, and so people would miss it because they would tune into one or the other or whatever. And so you'd see like these sort of player rivalries, happen again explosively. But it was really hard to follow because you're jumping formats, you're jumping total, league to tour to league, and you kind of lost some of that, the energy and some of the drama that I think MLP really really thrives on, and gets people excited to tune in. Like, ooh, did you see what went down? On CC on Saturday. Can't wait to see Hayden play X, or Matt Wright play whoever, and it's just really fun. So yeah. I think it's really really exciting. I think it's a great idea.
No, it's gonna be great, and we do have our midseason tournament as well that kind of like goes into that elimination style format, similar to last year. And Grand Rapids is just like the perfect host for that. I mean, like the fans there are amazing. The people that volunteer there are incredible. The team that runs the Beer City Open, led by Andrea Coop, they do just an amazing job. It's like the perfect spot for that.
Yeah, that'll be great. One of the other questions that I hear from people is, what happened to the last two MLP teams? Are we going to see them back in play at some point? And when will those last 6 teams move up to Premier? So sort of some of that team-based structure.
Yeah, totally. So look, where we are today, and we were talking about this at the beginning, is the sport is still so early. And when we made the decision to kind of have 2 divisions at the beginning of last year, it was really rooted in just giving more time for the talent to continue to mature, get better, improve, and get wider, right? And we've all seen that, like from 2024 and sort of the available player pool to what it is today. It's almost impossible to argue that the talent isn't better, bigger, wider, and sort of more far-reaching. And Absolutely. So when we think about going forward, it's really balancing that, where the talent is with where we want our product to be. So I think what you'll see from us is a bit more thoughtfulness into how we introduce both the 2, potential expansion teams, but also sort of the challenger teams continuing to go up into Premier. Because the ultimate goal here is to be one league at one level. That's what we want to be able to achieve. And we're just sort of waiting and allowing the talent and sort of the players that we have who are incredible to continue to advance, and new entrants to be able to come in and support, a healthy league. So I think we'll, no real commitments yet on what does 2026 look like, but the fact that we're even talking about 2026 like speaks enough to how like happy I am with where we are this year. Because I think or rewind, I should say, 12 months ago, like it was just heads down. How do we get 2024 off the ground? So that
Right.
is kind of a nice change, or a breath of fresh air, I guess you could say, from where we were last year to now.
Yeah, and yeah, you talk about the talent. I think that's so apt because I mean, what I can name so many players now: Augie Ga and Mari Humberg and Will Howells, and like so many stars. Kate Fahey's a huge one that popped up just this year that we'd never heard of and are absolutely spectacular. So that happens again, probably X5, X10 this year, and it won't be long before we have everyone in one united league.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So in terms of people love to talk the financials, and so I want to talk about how much money is on the line for these pros, between the contracts and the endorsements, and then obviously the league payments for winning championships.
Yeah. So look, one thing we're extremely proud of, and you saw some of the storylines, you guys covered it, other publications picked up on this as well, is pickleball players are earning what I would say is a very healthy and comfortable, amount relative to some of their peers in other sports. And we're like extremely proud of that. Like that's amazing. The fact that the average, female athlete in pro pickleball makes more than the WNBA, or the NWSL is like a great thing. It's a great, great thing for our sport. And so when we think about the financial piece of this for this year, one thing I really want to hone in on for Major League Pickleball and how we talk about it is the pride that should come with winning, the Premier or the Challenger division. And again, let's draw a parallel to some of our other sports, that we've talked about, the NFL, the NBA, et cetera. I used to work for Kevin Durant, and he earns 90+% of his contracted salary from the regular season. But he competes his ass off in the playoffs to win the Larry O'Brien trophy and lift that trophy and sort of build out his legacy. And that is what, to me, is the essence of winning Major League Pickleball. It's the hardest trophy to win in pro pickleball, period. Like there's only one, and you have to do it with a team, and you have to go through a regular season, and you have to win through the playoffs. And so, the fact that we're handing out one trophy a year, in my mind, sort of just articulates and emphasizes the point that it's extremely hard to be an MLP champion because there's only 4 of those every single year. In this case, 6. We now have rosters of 6. And so when we, look at the financial incentives and all of that, like prize money, of course, is great and sort of adds a layer of, excitement to some of our events, like our midseason tournament. But to me, I mean, we all saw it, right? The Dallas Flash, like they win that final, match against the New Jersey Fives. Augie hits a drive and kind of wins them the championship. And like the sheer bliss and shock that sort of erupted from their players, I think kind of shows like this means a lot. And then you had the confetti and you had the trophy, and that's what it's about. Like that's what it is about. When you see the Patrick Mahomes lift the Vince Lombardi trophy for winning the Super Bowl, it's not because there's a paycheck at the bottom of the trophy. It's because that's what it's about. Like that's what we love about pro sports. And so I think we'll sort of downplay and even to an extent adjust how we talk about what the incentives are, and more about like pride and like you want to compete, you want to win. Like that is what professional sports is about.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, they're competitors, and that means they want to win, and that means more to them than anything else. And I can name a number of players who started playing. Ben was 2016. Matt Wright, Lucy Kovalova, Simone Jardim were playing when you were making several $100s for winning a tournament, and they didn't play for the couple $100. They were losing money at every single event they went to. It was because they wanted to win. And that is, I think, the energy we want to bring into MLP. And the players will. They do. They oh my gosh, some of the competitors out there, they're downright scary. Like Kate Fahey scares me. She is so she's the nicest person, but she is so competitive out there. She wants it so bad. And I love that. I love to root for her because I'm like, I got to get behind this girl. She's got to win this or there's going to be trouble.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, think about like Anna Bright, Anna Lee, like Ben. They haven't won this MLP trophy. They haven't. Well, of course, we had previous formats in 2022 and 2023, and sort of individual tournaments. And I love that. The structure for that really proved out the excitement that comes with our league. But in my mind, 2024 was year one, and there was one champion awarded to 4 players, and they're the only ones when we sort of look at their legacy are able to fill in that row with MLP champion. Check. And to me, that means if I'm an Anna Lee, if I'm an Anna Bright, the more that we do to continue to build MLP and what it's capable of, this may start to set players apart when we have those conversations of who is the number 1 male, who is the number 2 male, who is the number 1 female that you guys do a really good job of talking about at pickleball.com. Like, this sets some people apart in what they're able to accomplish.
Absolutely. As we found out, team very different from individual.
Very
but
different.
But I want to talk about when will we know the full regular season schedule so that people know when they can follow their teams?
Totally. We should have that ready to go by the player drop date, so February 15th. So here in the next couple of weeks, we're going to kind of get out with, all right, when is Carolina Pickleball Club playing and at what event, so that, team fans can start buying tickets and tuning in and having a chance to follow their teams throughout the year. So here shortly in the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to get that out.
Awesome. And then one last thing before you go, and this has been a hotly debated topic on some of the forums and X and so on, the outlook on the UPA's growth and financial feasibility. I know this cannot be an unfamiliar topic to you.
Yeah, I mean, look, I had the luxury, fun job, you can say, of working in venture capital for the last 3 years. And that's investing in sports and investing in startups. And I think people like to frame things in a way that maybe benefits their own narrative. But the true reality of it is, like, the business is growing and it's amazing. Like, I left what I feel like was an amazing career opportunity working for one of the top athletes in the world, and Kevin Durant, and everything that he was building on and off the court, and moved my family to Dallas because I believe in pickleball so much. And we were investors in the lacrosse league, volleyball, Major League Soccer, women's soccer. I mean, I saw all of them. And for me, taking a hard look at what this business and what UPA has been able to do over, its time in the last year is amazing. And so, are we, on the trajectory? Are we at the level of the NBAs, the NFLs yet? No. But are we going to get there? I think so. And so, yes, we had a bridge loan that we funded, in December. Again, kind of wrongly framed. The fact that it was already committed just shows that our investors believe in this, because it was done like that. I mean, it was amazing to see how quickly they were willing to sort of step up and support the business. And so, looking forward to 2025, we plan on having our highest sponsorship revenue at $35 million plus, our highest ticket revenue, our highest amateur revenue. I think you'll see pickleball across PPA and MLP on way more television slots. We're seeing huge growth in Pickleball TV. The app just launched. So the business is extremely well positioned. And oh, by the way, it's getting better and better and better every single year. I mean, we had a set of MLP owner meetings here in Dallas on Tuesday, and we were showing them just the growth on MLP side for what the business was doing in 2021 when it just launched and had one event, to 22 to where it was last year to where we plan to be for 2025. And you look at that chart, and it's just like it's amazing to see where it's growing. It's almost exponential growth to an extent. And so, will the business, continue to need financial support? Yeah, I mean, we're a startup. Like, we're still early. We're in the first inning, the first quarter, however you want to talk about it. But to sort of frame it as the UPA is burning and it's over and all these contracts are done, like, give me a break. Like, we're proud to represent that we play our players what we do. Yes, are we, and do we need funding at times like any other startup would? Of course. But at the same time, I think you're going to see some exciting news here the next couple of weeks around some of our other financial components of the business that just continue to show where the league and where this sport is going.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, it was kind of, I remember I laughed when this first like came out because I'm like, I work for the company, so I see it firsthand. Like you can see it at the grassroots level when you go to a tournament. It's incredible how many more people are there, are watching, are supporting, our ticket holders are playing the event than there were a year or two ago. It's incredible growth. I mean, we've gone from, I joined the company, I was employee number 3, and now we have over 300. It's like, it's insane. It's not something that can even be debated in terms of the growth and the revenue. And Connor shared revenue numbers on social media. And it's like, it's kind of hilarious because, I mean, of course we could do it bootstrapping style. We could take what we were making and we could invest it back into the business slowly, piece by piece. But it's like, that's not how massive growth happens quickly. Bootstrapping is what you do if, that's, you can't do really much else. But if you can take out loans and you can create really quick, exponential growth, then that's, everyone who works in the business world knows how that works for you. And, the more you can take risks, usually the bigger the payoff is. And not to say that I think that it's, it was just kind of a laughable situation on social.
Yeah.
But,
look, I mean, like every league has its enemies, right? And people that want to sort of talk about a different narrative or frame things, in a way that benefits them. I think my big push for us as an organization this year is just to help people understand the facts better. And you're starting to see that with our competition structure, right? Like we're willing to talk about it more. We're willing to say like what informed these decisions, what went into that level of thinking. Yesterday we had an amazing conversation with all of the media outlets, sort of articulating what all of this meant. Like we're down for transparency. At the same time, like it is upon us to make sure that the business is growing. But we're happy to speak the facts. Like we're proud of what we do. I mean, I look around our office, around the 4 walls, and I'm like, this is amazing. And by the way, I think in a couple of years, we'll have the floor above us and the floor below us. Like we're coming fast.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely. I'm here for the ride. We both are. And I know how much we both love what we do and these companies and the players and the fans. And with that, Samin, thank you so much for your time. This is great. I'm really excited to release this and give the public even more visibility on what we're doing. Transparency is obviously a big thing. It's why we launched pickleball.com, so we could cover the news as a media outlet and give fans the facts in a way that was as unbiased as humanly possible. So we're really grateful to have you on here as a guest today.
Of course. I appreciate it.